So, I guess we are technically live, but I don't know if things have kicked in yet, so I'm going to keep looking over stuff. I do like the background, of course. One thing that people were complaining about, which is actually a good thing, people were complaining about last time, were the Odysee live stream link did not update in the YouTube description thing. So it seems like everyone hears about this thing happening on YouTube, and then they go to Odysee from there, which is interesting. Right. So people do, I mean, I'll take it. People do want to use Odysee, but they would much rather they'd much rather learn about it from YouTube. So I don't know, however people want to do it. Oh, we got a couple of people on Odysee, one person on YouTube. Let me just share the Odysee link in Discord so people know what to do, which also has a link. So, all right. One person watching on YouTube. I guess that's good enough for me for the moment. To just roll into like the hey everyone, blah 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 blah, flippin' blah, all that kind of
Maybe
stuff.
we should wait for just like another 3-4 minutes. We just started, right?
Yeah. Well, so as a big talking point in this whole thing is probably going to be sleep and lack thereof. I don't. How well do you tend to function on little sleep?
I mean, you'll see.
Yeah.
I function okay. I woke up, I think I woke up at 1 p.m. yesterday, and now it's 3:15 a.m. So it's not as if I woke up at 8 a.m. and it's 3:15 a.m.
Yeah. So
Right?
it's kind of like a little bit of an all-nighter situation, but that's the thing is
Yeah.
I found that I can two people on YouTube. I found that I could definitely function pretty well with an all-nighter situation. Like for example, if I if I've been sleeping great and then I pull an all-nighter and then have to get through the whole workday the next day, there's some bumps along the road, but with tons of coffee, of course, then
I
I'd be able to function.
I can't do it anymore. After like about 20 hours, I just start breaking down. And I mean, I up till about 28, 29, I could manage. And now that I'm 34,
Yeah.
I can't. I just can't. I eventually just almost pass out. So
Yeah. Well, that's gonna be me in like a month or so, probably. So yeah, it's a little crazy, but yeah, we got 5 people watching there, and at least as many on Odysee, so that's a good crowd. So hey everyone, welcome to the second podcast of the day, or the one that's a lot of people anticipate. I like both of them. The previous one, though, I usually just talk about, random news stuff. It's not as like, all right, we're here to dig into something important in the day. So let me just run this intro thing and we'll get started. So, hey, welcome everyone. This is the Dash Podcast, and I have the fantastic pleasure of speaking with the one and only Samuel Westrich, a.k.a. QuantumExplorer, the brand new interim, but hopefully not interim, if you ask me, CTO of Dash Core Group, the largest development group under the Dash Decentralized Autonomous Organization. Before we get too going into this cool stuff, wow, already 10 people watching YouTube. That's nice. Yes, you may join in on Odysee. There's a link in the YouTube description as well. I do prefer if you do on Odysee if it works, if you can. But if you can, if you just like YouTube better, do what you want. As usual, though, so I already have a lot of questions for Sam ahead of time, and I'm going to go through those. If you want to add any, it's going to cost you. I'm paywalling Quantum today. So go to cointr.ee/thedesertlinks, throw some Dash with a question, and then I will be forced to answer. I'll be compelled by the power of money. And otherwise, you can do that via Odysee Hyper Chat. And yeah, I'll also be compelled to answer those as well. Just no like racial slurs or stuff. I mean, that gets old after a while. So, so first off, how are you doing, man?
Well, it's been an interesting week. As some people know, but not everybody, I am the lead developer who wrote the consensus engine for Platform. I also am in charge of the iOS library. And on top of that, I am CTO for about a week now. So I have a lot of responsibilities. We're trying to hire as quickly as possible, but it has been a very, very intense week. I hope that after a few months, I can offload some of my work.
Well, that's yeah. So that's finish that up. Sorry.
Oh yeah, and on top of that, I do live in Thailand. For people who do not know, and it's 3:15 a.m. here. I have not yet slept yet, so I'll do my best to answer all questions. But if I take pauses, I do apologize for them.
Yeah, it's okay. The pragmatic pause is it's a very good It's a very good like speech tool for people to use. It's better than and filler. So I'll get jump around a little bit with these questions because they kind of flow. You just said trying to get a lot of help and stuff. How is the process of looking for developers going? Which positions for hiring do you still need to fill? And do you need any help recruiting, or is it just you have tons of candidates, just about hiring the right one now that you have that?
I would say the process is so much better over the last month and a half than it was in the past. There was a low point in the year when we lost Kevin, Dustin Face, around May, I think it was, about 3 months ago. And at that point, after we lost him, we had two devs in the C++ team. We had about 5 in the platform team. This is always a little bit in flux because I'm trying to count people who are working part-time. 2 part-times is equal to 1 full-time. And then we had, if I'm considered in the mobile team, we had 4 people in the mobile team. So from there, we've actually done pretty well. Now in the C++ team, we're at 5, and we have signed another person who starts in about a month. And we have another person that most likely will also be hired, but has not yet received their offer. I probably should not say that in case they're listening. But
yeah, well, the details are not out there, so it's not gonna dox anyone. And hopefully, if the person is listening, they're like, oh, that might be me. It might also not be you. There's a lot of hiring going on. So how many positions are unfilled and don't have anyone on the horizon right now?
Well, I a few things about that. So for mobile, we were looking to hire 2 Java developers. One accepted their offer this week. The other we're hesitating between 2 candidates, and we're almost sure to get those positions completely filled. For iOS, we're in the final stages with somebody who will probably be receiving an offer on Monday. So that's for mobile. Now let me go on to core. Well, I kind of already talked about core. Core, we're pretty much at capacity for where we want to be. We just did a big round of hiring, and hiring too much too quickly has issues. So before we I'm reading the messages. I probably shouldn't do that. Yeah, before we start hiring more people in core C++, we're probably going to wait a little pause. Now the most important is, well, maybe not the most important, but just the other part is platform. So on platform, I'm happy to announce we have somebody starting on Monday, on the consensus engine who's already helping us in Incubator. We also have another person starting on the consensus engine in about, well, he just accepted the offer. So, he has to give notice to his current employer. So I'm not sure exactly how long that will take, but I'm guessing, a month or two at the max. Maybe 3 months. I know he's in Europe, and sometimes it takes a little bit longer to onboard somebody there.
Yeah.
And then then we have one other person potentially as well on the consensus part that we're also looking at. The last part, in platform, it's really divided in 3 sections. We have the consensus part, we have the drive part, and we have the JavaScript SDK for client side that Incubator cares very much about. As I became CTO, one of my priorities is to make sure that the JavaScript client SDK is working extremely well for the Incubator.
Okay.
And to that extent, as I said in a reply to Andy before, we will be hiring one extra person for that role. Now, this just started, so it takes time to go through to get candidates first, to go through candidates, to hire. So it's going to take a little bit of time, and but we're also looking for somebody there. In JavaScript Drive, we don't have anybody on the horizon. We have received about 60 candidates, and none of them the team believes is able to perform those tasks. And we can actually, in this call, go a little bit further on why that is. I mean, I can just go into that right now if you want, or would you prefer to talk about it later?
Yeah, so that's the question here also is, can you explain why finding JavaScript programmers that want to work on blockchain projects is so difficult? Why is that kind of a roadblock?
Well, we really want people who can come into the role and hit the ground running. It's really hard for us to find people that know blockchain that also want to write JavaScript. And the reason mostly is that there are only 2 projects in the blockchain space that use JavaScript that I know of. Well, 2 big projects. And to that extent, our team is strongly considering moving away from JavaScript for the Drive code.
Which is the other big project,
Yeah, it's Lisk.
Lisk.
I think it's called Lisk.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're still big, but I think Lisk exists. I think there are a few others, but it's not. I just saw.
You're watching the live chat.
Right? It's funny. I shouldn't watch it. It will distract me.
Yeah, I mean, about not being a real programming language. Yeah.
I mean, the truth is that it was a decision made in 2017 when Node.js was a little bit more the rage.
Yeah.
And, I think that it's not, I personally think it was not a great decision, but it was made, and we have to own it. We're not going to wait till I mean, we are going to wait till MVP, like the current developers that we have. We're not going to task them on rewriting code before we release. What I am looking at, however, is having an external company come in to potentially start rewriting our code base, either in Go or Rust. So not take away people from our development efforts, but also rewriting code in a different language is a lot easier than coming up. Yeah. So, well, that's my hope, at least. I do have 2 external companies that might be interested for this engagement. So,
yeah,
we'll see.
Well, my personal request would be Go, since I did like 2 to 3 weeks of Codecademy Go, and I've done nothing on Rust. So Yeah,
So
but you don't have to do it around me at all. I'm probably never going to be an actual programmer, but whatever.
I actually want to talk about this. I
Hmm.
probably very few people care, but it is
Yes.
very interesting. So Rust versus Go. If there are any
Hmm.
developers out there, probably might know this. Rust is the best technical solution.
Yes.
It really will not. It has a lot of really amazing features that are really great for the type of project that we're writing. On top of that, our underlying um, database solution is written in Rust.
Hmm.
So there is some competency in our team for Rust. The real issue there is, finding Rust developers at a fair market rate is
Yeah,
a
good
little bit
luck.
rough.
It's a little bit
Um,
rust
yeah, it would
for
be a
tech.
little bit rough. I think it's possible.
Hmm.
Go, on the other hand, is almost as good.
Hmm.
Not as good, but almost as good technically, and it's very easy to both program and find developers for. So
Yeah.
we're going to be making that decision in the next month or two,
Hmm.
but we're not yet completely sure which way we're going to go. Mostly, probably based on the people that based off of the teams and what they prefer
Yeah.
after thorough investigation.
Based on my very limited experience, I think the Go is really easy. Like, if an idiot like me can sort of figure it, because I did look at JavaScript many years ago, and that thing just gave me like it spiked my cortisol levels. Like it did not like it. So I do also remember back in early 2017. I remember Evan was talking about wanting a Go implementation of Dash back then,
Mm-hmm.
and it just one of those things he just spouted out and kind of people remembered but didn't go anywhere. But now it's kind of funny how like the full circle. I mean, you don't want to toot Evan's horn too much, even though he is
Mm-hmm.
the great founder. May his name live on forever. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, he had some kind of interesting ideas that like are ahead of years ahead of their time. So I just thought that was
Mm-hmm.
interesting.
Well, yeah, yeah, and actually, we do have a RPC client written in Go
Hmm.
for Dash, so you can actually connect to the underlying core if you're writing a Go service on top of it.
Hmm.
But we don't yet have like deterministic masternode lists, um, quorums, sporks, everything on top of the very minimum yet written in Go. And I don't think we're going to be planning on doing that anytime soon either, unless we grow to extreme amounts and we have the capacity to hire another team to do it.
Which would be very, very nice. Now,
It will.
let's shift gears just a little bit on this, but you
Mm-hmm.
kind of mentioned it already about developer SDKs for Incubator and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so going into that a little bit more, will you be prioritizing support for the community developers with a working API and features that they want in order to build platform dApps? Because and to expand on that a little bit, it seems like, again, this is a lot more I'm hearing secondhand because I'm not really a developer, I'm not in the weeds, but I've heard a lot of rumblings of people saying platform is going to be this way. There seems to be like a disconnect between DCG leadership and the platform vision. Like, platform can do all these cool things, let's build that. And then the DCG vision seems to, again, this is all secondhand stuff, has been
Uh-huh.
accused of being more laser focused on just like usernames and payments and not all the awesome dApps and stuff you can build. And so I've heard even talk about like rug pull type things of like, oh yeah, we're gonna have this feature. People start building dApps that use the feature, and then the feature either gets delayed or discontinued entirely or something like that. I've heard a lot of like hearsay on the matter, but basically, what is your commitment to, if any? I mean, you can just say now we're not into that, of like APIs and features that community devs would request.
Yeah, so there's a few things there. First is like prioritizing working API. Let me tell you what I've done this week. I reached out to incubator devs And I basically wanted a full list from them of everything that they say is not working. We received that list. Also, this Monday, we now have a technical product owner who can manage this inside the platform team. As you might be aware, Dana left in January. So
many are not aware of this, but yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So, without somebody that actually was in charge of dealing with this, it kind of fell behind. And the problem mostly is that us developers, we have a lot to do, really. I mean, I was a developer until last week, and I still am to still the majority of my time. And it's hard to figure out exactly what the community needs on top of our current responsibilities. It's especially when we have quite a lot of work to do to release this year. So that's basically the answer. Now, what will I be prioritizing support? I can't promise that everything will work because I don't know the future, but I do know that I will, hire one extra person for helping that. On top of that, I will be pushing one of our devs more to fix the current issues that exist. And then what I really want to do is I want to make it very open about feature requests from Incubator and developers if it's from another DFO other than Incubator. Basically, I want them to tell us every quarter, probably, what they want us working on. Maybe we'll say no, but at least it's out in the open. So it's not like hearsay. Oh, you said that one developer one time said that, and now it's the truth. No, I want it to be official. That, okay, Incubator is requesting these features, and Dash DCG will, work on them to the best of our ability if, when we can. Obviously, if there's a high value in them, we want the best thing for Dash as well. So, we'll prioritize them and do them as quickly as possible. Also, we do have more funds than we did last year. Where
Thank God.
Yeah, exactly. So we are able to hire a lot of people. We have added a lot of headcount in developers, and that's going to start paying off. When you hire somebody in blockchain, they don't always start off, their first second month super quick, but 3, 4, 5, maybe even 6 months later, they do pretty well. Or they leave.
Yeah. It's a funny way of putting it, but it is accurate,
Yeah.
You hit your stride, you get out of there.
Well, yeah, we've had both. We've had people that left on their own. We've had people that, were kind of let go. I won't go too much more into that.
Yeah, of course. Probably neither here nor there. Now, when you're talking about that stuff, this is something that, again, when we talk about hearsay, this is another hearsay quieter to answer, is how much actual control do you, as CTO, have over Dash's developmental direction? In particular, people, of course, are worried about, as I've heard described, the suits, or, the corporate influence, shifting focuses, causing delays, mismanagement, other things like that. There's a lot of things like, oh, our developers should be working on this stuff, and they want to be, but then these like shadowy high ups are telling them, no, we want this. And so how much actual control, how much of Dash Core Group's developmental direction is up to you and pretty much you alone?
I would actually say to a low to a medium amount. And it's actually not for the reasons that you think. It's not because of the suits or the non-developers. It's actually quite the opposite.
Yeah.
Most of our decisions that we make are decided by an internal Dash architecture group, where we're very decentralized. Of course, like I have a bigger say, more than probably any developer now as the role in CTO, but it's more that I manage that architecture group. I won't just say, "Oh no, we do this." It's really a decision between the developers and between also the product owners who will go to incubator to uh, exchanges, get their feature requests, and then we kind of prioritize what's the most important. Um, you know, what more can I say? It's like not a top-down system. Um, it's more basically the devs that have contributed the most to the project have the most say.
Mm.
People who write dips, people who and dips are our Dash improvement proposals. People who have been long time developers. That's, in my opinion, where the most power of the organization really lies, because we can't do anything without our top developers.
Yeah.
In terms of development for DCG.
Yeah. So basically, to sort of recap a little bit of that, it's not that the suits aren't necessarily in control. It's just kind of everyone who's working on it is collectively in control.
Yeah, exactly. Collectively in control. I mean, Ryan does
Mm-hmm.
sometimes come in and tell us, oh, what happens if we did it this way? And sometimes his ideas are really valuable
Mm-hmm.
because he has um, a business acumen
Mm-hmm.
that's different from ours, and uh, you know, like something that he's been pushing for in the past is a quicker proof of service.
Mm-hmm.
We actually, in our roadmap right now, we have a few major tasks left till platform release, and one of those major tasks was proof of service. And the proper way of, well, not the proper way, but the most um, complete, foolproof way of doing proof of service actually takes a lot of time. And some things that Ryan said, he didn't actually give the solution, but he did push us to think more about a potential solution that would work well, not perfect, but well for for a quicker release. And I'm very happy that happened because since then we've had a few discussions and we found a solution that probably will take half the time and be 90% as good. So
Well, that's good to hear. Um, on the whole organizational structure thingy, and um, there has been in the past. I mean, the big complaint everyone always has is DZG doesn't communicate very well, and specifically, the more recent one has been regarding the CTO position of like, why? Where's our CTO? Why isn't he out here talking about this kind of stuff? There's been a lot of jokes about Bob about being Bob the ghost because like no one ever talks, and of course I'm sure he had plenty of legitimate reasons and personal reasons, other things like that. So it's not a judgment on that, but it is kind of a thing of can we expect to see? I mean, obviously, you just be on the podcast not too long ago, a few months ago, and then pretty much right away instead of going to sleep, it's already a massive improvement. But basically, do you foresee yourself as being a much more visible CTO?
well, yes, but that's really what I want more than anything. I do kind of have to ask the community to understand that I still am the main developer on the consensus engine, the main developer on our iOS library. So basically, I can't take all my time, as much time as I want, basically, to communicate with our community, but I will do my best. I am hoping that a month from now, I shouldn't even say a month because I don't like promising dates,
Mm-hmm.
but as soon as possible, and I've tasked people to do this, we will have a list of pretty much the main, or well, not even the main, the full list of tasks left to do until we get MVP to mainnet. I'm actually going to structure it in the following way. There's going to be a essential list, and there's going to be a we would like to do this list, and then there's going to be a probably not list, and then there's going to be, we're not going to really talk about
the list.
Well, I mean, yeah, we have. I also do not think we will be hitting mainnet this year, but I do believe that we will be feature complete this
year. Yeah. So
meaning,
what is the difference between those two things?
Good question. So feature complete is that we've released a release candidate that we're happy with. Like we're happy in the sense that there are no more features to write. I want to kind of explain why a little bit about Testnet last year.
Yeah.
I would have preferred we hadn't gone to Testnet, but we did go to Testnet to show that we were in a higher level of development.
Yeah.
We're at a better level of development. I really wanted to go to Testnet when we were completely ready, but it didn't really happen that way. And I think that there were valuable reasons to go to Testnet. It's a bigger network. We've seen issues that we would not have seen otherwise. For example, I see that there was a question here that I'd really like to answer from ZeroQual 2 up a little bit later about V20. We've seen issues on our testnets that we would not have seen otherwise. On our local dev nets, they just don't appear, mostly because of the size of the dev nets, and also because Testnet is old. It's been around. This version of Testnet has 500,000 blocks, and it behaves slightly different. There are slightly different rules than a DevNet, so there are some benefits. And this is where I get tired and I forget your original question.
Yeah. I kind of forget as well because you kind of like rolled into the next one. But, the difference between a feature complete release candidate and an actual full mainnet release.
Well, there are a few things that I don't want to have happen. I don't want us to arrive on the last 2 weeks of December. Okay. Everybody wants to take a vacation and see their family. And then we're all like stressed because we promised our community that we'd hit mainnet. On top of that, there's another thing. We again, tired, losing my train of thought. We don't actually know how long it takes miners to activate because there's an upgrade process that is involved. We need to get the masternodes all running platform. I do believe that the masternode network will do this because the way we plan, or we probably will plan to do proof of service, will incentivize them. I don't want to make any commitments for proof of service right now, mostly because, basically when you hear proof of service, it's the incentivization for masternodes to run platform. I don't want to make any commitments there because even though it's in the final stages of decision, it hasn't been completely decided by the team. So, and also there has to be V18 that is approved by the miners with a BIP9 activation. It could take a few weeks. On top of that, there are a lot of new members inside of DCG. Will everybody work out? Yes, no, maybe. What I do know is that we have, let me kind of talk about, if this is okay, the DCG development priorities. So in my mind, for platform, we have two major, no, I didn't say years, Codex. Sorry, let me tell you. Feature complete December. I would say 50% January. That's my roadmap that I'm setting for myself. that's where I really think we'll be. You know, if it isn't, I'm probably gonna have to come and like apologize. But at this point, I kind of want to explain why I'm saying that
Yeah.
more than just promise a date.
Yeah.
I want there to be a list of all the tasks we have left, and so like that, people can see them being completed. Done, 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 down the list, and then you guys can make your own mind on when we'll be done. There aren't that many things left at this point. So let me kind of explain what we have left. Well, the consensus engine that we've written, and I can actually talk about the consensus engine all day, but maybe in a future question if somebody cares about that.
Yeah.
The consensus engine is mostly done. The whole system where we use core to hold keys, tender dash to sign, drive to hold the data, and basically drive rotates a validator set and inside tender dash, I don't want to go too much onto this, but inside tender dash we now have implemented our threshold cryptography system, which heavily reduces the amount of messages on the network compared to other solutions that are PBFT. In fact, I think our consensus engine is the first something called SBFT, Scalable Byzantine Fault Tolerant System, that has ever been made. I'm not 100% sure of that because there actually is a project that came from the white paper on SBFT, but I don't know how far along they are, and it's quite different. It's not really. I don't want to talk much about that because it's more that I don't know that much. And then so what I was trying to say is that that's kind of done. There's some development work, but it's not consequential. What really is consequential are two major items. The first is our data storage. Our data storage relies on a combination of a data solution called Merc, which is RocksDB, and on top of that, an AVL, a Merkle AVL tree. It works very well. And then on the other side, we have MongoDB. This combination together has led to problems. It was a very good proof of concept when it was made in 2018. I believe 2018. I don't want to be held accountable for that date, but I think it was done in 2018. And we had to make a proof of concept there. And it does work, as you can see by devnets and testnets. The problem is that there are rare bugs, for one. There are also a few features that it just cannot do that are very much needed. And on top of that, it can't offer proofs of validity of data for requests. This basically means that I can say, oh, does my identity exist in the network? And you can get back a proof for that. I actually would love to talk at some point about our proof system, but it will just go down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Maybe if we have time on the after party, I'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Or if we have questions.
I mean, I would absolutely love to exclude you from the after party so you can sleep. I mean, I love having you chat, but I care about you too. That's those two are sometimes at odds with each other.
I mean, I'll go for at least half of it. I do enjoy it.
So we did get a question, and the thing is that this is such an open conversation, as it were, where sometimes it's like one thing leads into another, and I've just got to make sure, especially when it's like a technical subject, where especially was it like a technical subject where sometimes I can't fully know if your question has been answered or not. So I got to make sure, or the question has been answered or not. Let me see real quick. I messed this thing up. It's about the I'll just wait for just a second. This is probably better. In technical terms, what is causing platform Testnet to go down often and not come up for a while? What README was talking about. What are the solutions? Thanks for being an open book. Anonymous.
Yeah, sure. No problem. I can answer that. So I would say that the answer is different for every release that we've ever done. Sadly. I don't know if they're talking about V20, but I'm going to answer. I'm going to answer for V20. It was released about a week ago, and this time it's the consensus engine that has a problem.
Okay.
And this is my work. So the consensus engine has an issue that was not visible on small devnets. Our local devnet that we use for testing these types of things has, we tested it on one that was 55 members, and we tested it on one that was 22 members. And on those size of devnets, it was working. When we got to 150, Testnet has 100 and I think 166 nodes at the moment. There was an issue. Obviously, this is not something that I'm happy about, especially since I'm pretty much at this point the only person that can fix it. And for V20, I basically didn't have the logs available to fix it. I couldn't actually figure it out based off of the logs that were available. So what we had to do is I had, and somebody else, of course, in the team was helping me. We added a lot of logs and then pushed it. And then we were able to narrow it down a lot more on what's wrong. Then there was one thing missing in the logs where I wasn't really completely sure. So then I pushed it out again with those logs. I did notify our community through the incubator that we expect V20 of a platform to be available probably by Tuesday of next week. Right now, I've narrowed it down enough that I'm pretty confident that I'll be able to solve it tomorrow.
Let's go.
Again, I can actually, I mean, at some point, maybe in the after party, I can share a screen and show you guys kind of what I'm actually doing. I'm actually looking at every signature that the network is producing and threshold aggregating them, because there's actually somewhere where during the rotation of one quorum to another, it fails.
Interesting.
I don't know why. I'm close to. Yeah, actually, Leon White has been helping me very much. Trophy.
That's me. I'm the logs monkey. But that's fine.
Yeah. So I hope that answered that question.
Yeah,
and I really,
much.
really hope that it will be, completely ready by Tuesday.
Well, so this is the big whammy of the question. It's all smooth sailing after this for the most part. Pretty much. So there's been over the years a lot of a failure to communicate the release dates, and which obviously you talked about not liking the concept of release dates as much anyway. However, I remember, and this is for the old school people who have been involved in Dash. I remember there was somewhere on GitHub this big old roadmap that Evan, bless his heart, put out, and it said something about Dash Evolution launch mid 2018. He basically said in the middle of 2018, this whole thing would be out. And retrospectively, that's kind of really hilarious, really. So, but then you go towards the end of and he called that version 0.14. And towards the end of the year, at the end of the year, 0.14 was released, but it was in no way evolution, and this wasn't addressed. And then you get, okay, well, actually, that's, we're going to have it out by the end of 2019. And then it ended up being,
Mm-hmm.
well, let's do testnet. We'll do testnet 2019. And at the very end of 2019, platform finally came out on EvoNet, which I thought was testnet. And it's like, all right, well, this is kind of testnet. But then, well, anyway, then 2020, it's like, okay, by the end of 2020, it's really going to be out this time. And
Mm-hmm.
then it comes out on testnet. But this is like real testnet, so it's basically done. We just have to do some bugs. It'll be out. And then it's just like, okay, mid 2021, platform's going to be out. And then in the middle, like, there was estimates. Someone casually mentioned
Yeah.
Q1, although I don't blame DCG on that. That was a mistake. Q2, Q3 is what I heard being cited. And
Yeah.
then somewhere around the beginning of the year, I remember Bob, your predecessor, mentioned something about just super, super confident this whole thing's going to be out this year. And then in radical transparency from you, of course, you've been talking about how you'll probably have like the feature complete release candidate by the end of the year. And your estimates are, 50% actual full, honest to goodness mainnet, January. And I mean, that's great on your part. The thing is, on the
It's
official
ba-
on the official DCG, like the quarterly call, there was never a, you know what? I know we promised this, but there's been some delays, so that doesn't look realistic. They were just kind of like a, well, we're kind of pretend no one notices and kind of casually put release candidate instead of release there. And I think a lot of people are a little bit upset about that whole thing. And particularly people, like myself. I'm a little more zen to the whole thing now, but a lot of people
Mhm.
were telling hundreds of people in public promoting this stuff, saying, "Oh, it's going to be out then. This is what they say," and we've been kind of turned into fools over the years. And there's a lot of failure to properly communicate. I would also go out on a limb and
Mhm.
say there's clearly a little bit of dishonesty as well in this whole thing. So that being said,
Uh,
what can you do? What can you do to make things different? I mean, you're already doing a great job. Just what you've said tonight, been very nice and honest and great about that. But anyway, fire away.
yeah.
How's
So
this changing?
I don't actually think that it's dishonest,
Hmm.
and I'm going to kind of explain why to the best of my ability. Um, I would say that it's kind of gone the following.
Mm-hmm.
You ask the development teams, how long do you think this is going to take?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we don't really know because we've never done this before, but we think it's going to take this long, this long, this long, and we're going to have to implement this, this, and that. And then probably, at some point, people were asked, okay, in your worst possible estimates, how long do you think it's going to take? And then people, the development teams have said this date, and this date. And then in the development teams, things happen. People get sick, people quit. Some, there are issues, and also some people have burnt out. We've had, you know, as you said, Evan led the project at the beginning. He's not he hasn't been around for since 2017, um, and other people have burnt out after him
Mm-hmm.
trying to release this. So that's kind of it. And I don't when I become like as I become CTO. I mean, I am the CTO now, but I want to do things differently. I don't want to just promise a date because people will just say, okay, he's just coming in and he's going to just tell us what we want to hear. It's
Mm-hmm.
not really my goal. My goal is, show you guys what we've achieved, have, have more communication, and and have you guys see what's currently working, what's currently not. There is the Dash Pay Alpha program, right? That has been available,
Mm-hmm.
I think for a year now. So on the mobile front, things have been working. Um, Literally right now, there are a few stories left in Dash platform. I, they're hard. Sometimes, for example, you think you have everything worked out, you push it to testnet, and then it breaks, and then you spend a week trying to fix
Yeah.
it. These are things that happen. The good news is, we have our financial state inside DCG is really good. We're hiring a lot of people, very competent people as well. Some juniors, some seniors, some leads, and you know, I'm very optimistic, like very optimistic actually. And I'm also very happy to become CTO now and not 2 years ago
Yeah.
or before,
Would
because
because then that all would all be on you.
yeah, well, it's more that I'm happy to become CTO now because I actually feel like, okay, we're going to release this and it's going to look pretty good on me, right? When you don't actually see a lot of the work that has been done before me.
Mhm.
I mean, from the developers, yes, of course, but there's been a lot of work across the organization.
Yeah. So I'm getting distracted by the live chat, of course.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. So I just got the thing is, I absolutely I understand and agree, and seeing that there's like the task, this monumental task, and all the figuring out it's had, all the various personal issues that have arisen that have delayed things, the financial issues that have dealt, affected kind of things. And I think that from the start, you've done the right thing. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that that's one reason some of the biggest critics of DCG lately have been in this live chat saying very nice things about you, and I think that's a fantastic sign because you're clearly doing something right, but not just right, but right in contrast with what was done in the past. And it's yeah, and so because of that, there's no way I'm going to beat you up over these kinds of past things.
Mm-hmm.
I do still believe there's been a little bit of dishonesty in the way things have been handled. A lot of people are frustrated that they have been saying for years that, or the entire crypto space, investors, everyone else has believed one thing, and when something did happen, they just the way they know that there's been a delay is that the date comes and goes, or the expectation comes and goes, and nothing gets released, and that's the kind of ghost stuff we were talking about in the past. And I'm very happy to see that's not going to be a thing anymore. I just hope that higher up, higher up the food chain, there's a little more transparency as far as owning up to, setbacks. And that's one thing I've noticed, by the way, because
Mm-hmm.
I've I've always tried my best to be honest,
Mm-hmm.
but in my whole life. But I've also noticed that what you choose to say, sometimes exposing your flaws and your setbacks and your challenges gains you a ton of credibility. And like in the past, I was a little bit more, I guess insecure might be a good way of putting it about this kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
either on a personal level through my personal life, but also when I was talking about Dash and stuff. And people will say scam shitcoin, like, and like fight back against that. No, it isn't. It's just this. And now I feel a lot more comfortable saying things like, yeah, you know what? This has been kind of promised years ago, and I'm very disappointed. Of course, I wish it would have been done today, but I still think everything's great. It's a great project. It's still what works for me today, et cetera, et cetera. Or also not just say, yeah, this is way better. Your thing sucks, but even say your thing is pretty good too. I like mine, but your thing is also pretty good, and that kind of thing, I think, gives a whole lot of credit to sort of honesty and stuff like that. But anyway, there's just a couple of like official or pre-figured out questions. So if you have extra questions, please start loading them up in the super chats right now, because it sometimes takes some time to kind of crank through those. And yeah, let me get to this next one here. It kind of goes hand in hand with the whole like delay thing. Which, delays happen. C'est la vie,
Mm-hmm.
right? But do you feel that Dash is technologically slipping behind the competition at all? And do you think that has the DCG dev team actually spent a lot of time looking at what else is out there, what other people are doing, etc., to basically inform the opinion of the first question?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, we're slipping behind on the meme economy for sure.
The meme economy?
No, that was kind of a joke.
Yeah, well, just so you know, I've seized the memes of production and started to crank out some interesting ones. So we're gonna get there. We'll get Mark back on the air horn meme videos and stuff. Yes.
No, I kind of find it sometimes a little bit funny how a lot of these projects, like I would say Dogecoin. I don't want to say bad things about other projects, really, but I don't actually think that a lot of these meme coins will be around, for a very long time. Maybe, who knows? Markets can be weird,
Mm-hmm.
but anyways, that was not the question at all. I want to get back to the question. Is Dash technologically slipping behind the competition? Well, it really depends. Some things that we are doing are way above the competition. Some things that we are doing are way below the competition. Like, for example, we don't have smart contracts,
Mm-hmm.
but and that's where we'd be behind. But we have a much more sound consensus engine that uses threshold signatures, right?
Yeah.
So, we are using BLS, heavily using BLS. We're on, and BLS signatures and our threshold signature system and how it works with light clients, I don't think exists anywhere else. And then it kind of goes into the next question: have DCG devs been closely looking at the competition? Well, we all try to look. I'll go look at projects that exist, like obviously Ethereum, Tendermint I know by heart, obviously now. A lot of other projects I'll look at. Some other devs will also look at some projects. For example, I've also looked heavily into ICP, which is Internet Computer.
Yeah, I thought it was Insane Clown Posse. Sorry,
They actually
stupid joke.
I actually think that they have pretty good tech, but they have some pretty bad tokenomics, and I think I didn't look much at it, but I think their distribution is a little bit weird on how they're distributing their funds initially.
Yeah, that's just as a very quick side note. That is something I've sort of noticed with newer projects. Newer projects a lot of times seem to have some really cool and innovative tech, and at the same time they tend to, and again, not to sound like an old school grumpy Bitcoin person, but they tend to ignore some of those sound economic and decentralization fundamentals, like not caring at all about what coin distribution's like, and not caring at all like what the decentralization is going to be like, not caring at all what the monetary kind of principles will be like, not really looking into economic things. And I saw, and by the way, Great Wolf mentioned my joke here. I just got to get my Insane Clown Posse sounds just like the token to invest in. Yeah, I mean ICP coin. Anyway, but you have a lot of that, and I saw some Ethereum guy on Twitter. I don't want to blow him up, poor dude. But he was making this big, like, discussion about how some economic thing about how Bitcoin's going to end up losing out to Ethereum in the long term, which I do not necessarily disagree with that statement. But the way he came up with it was saying economically on proof of stake and with all fees burned, Ethereum costs $0 to run, but Bitcoin costs a lot to run because it uses mining. And it just like blew my mind up with the economic ignorance of the whole thing. You don't understand that prices are set because people value things versus scarcity. You don't understand that staking costs. Just like you aren't paying people free money because they're rich. There's opportunity cost to that capital that they could be doing something else. And proof of work just has that with the mining machines, maybe, but you don't have to, like, you just say that this is free and this isn't. It's just like that meme where you have a power strip plugged into itself and it's like infinite energy loop kind of thing. So yeah, I do agree about the whole thing where you're saying about these new projects with weird distributions and stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of that. Like the new school has some really cool tech that, and yet kind of is missing on a couple of those kind of things. And hopefully, if Dash catches up with some of the tech, but has that strong foundation, as you mentioned, the consensus engine stuff, it could be something really special.
Yeah, and also like I would like to bring back something that has existed for quite a while, is our deterministic masternode list plus the quorum system that's on top of it. I mean, that is still very good in 2021. The way that system works, and it's been improved continuously. Actually, one part of V18 is improving that to the next level to increase the security of instant send transactions higher than it currently is. And then hopefully after that point have it audited so there's a strong there's a lot of weight behind it, so exchanges feel more comfortable taking instant send transactions immediately, right? Not all big exchanges will do that.
Yeah, the thing about instant send stuff is a lot of that's an education problem today. But as you also mentioned, some of it is they're just not quite sold on it yet that it's enough. But this is just me thinking from like my level of this, of the the content creator, the educator, the promoter, or whatever, is as soon as there's like a high level respected audit, that has to be like blasted out everywhere, especially if such an audit can be combined with studies that show that zeroconf is not necessarily secure on its own, which is some nonsense. Like I understand that a zeroconf transaction on a chain, like let's just say Bitcoin Cash, is largely reliable for small transactions, I guess. But just there's a lot of hand waving and dishonesty in people that just say, yeah, it's like as good as fully confirmed. And there'd be good to have like some research and stuff to kind of like settle that, because then some people are saying, oh, Dash Direct, it only really works because you have that instant send guarantee. But like, no, we could do with like our Litecoin or whatever. It's like, I don't know if the CratePay would trust that, for example.
No, and actually, like a lot of people don't see all the tech that's underneath the hood. Like for example, on the mobile wallets, we actually download all the deterministic masternode list. We have the whole masternode list, and we have all the quorums, and we verify the threshold signatures of instant send messages that are relayed on top of the transactions. This is actually a lot of very difficult tech that was built in the past. And also what isn't really known is the optimizations that we had to do to make it run on a phone. Yeah. I mean, now phones are a little bit more powerful than 3 years ago, but I must say that, until, for example, I would say iPhone 7, this was interesting.
Yeah. So we got, it's funny, there's one of the questions that was on the list, as it were, but Great Wolf just brought it up as well. Basically, and this is the one on the list is a more detailed version of what he's saying. Are you planning to reprioritize development of a trustless masternode share system as Evan envisioned, with wallet built-in savings accounts, and particularly the protocol changes that are needed to make that happen, such as multi-collateral address or multi-address collateral for masternodes, or multi-party payouts beyond just the two that are there now for the collateral holder, whatever, and then the maintainer, and then also over collateralization, where if you have 1,001 Dash in your address, you can run a masternode off. It doesn't have to be exactly 1,000, or the node won't work. So yeah, what about all that stuff?
Okay, I can. That's a lot of questions.
One question, get a lot of them at the same time.
Yeah. So I'll start the first with trustless masternode shares.
Mm-hmm.
Some people might be aware, some people not. I actually wrote a dip on trustless masternode shares back in 2018 as I was writing the dip on the masternode list, the
Mm-hmm.
terminating masternode list, dip 3. I mean, it was a fast follower. The reason why it never happened
Mm-hmm.
was because the development, this is not a top-down decision by Ryan.
Yes.
The development group decided that platform was our sole priority.
Okay.
That's it, and that basically stuck until now. And there is a dip out there that's mostly written. I also saw that the community has a few ideas, which are good. And the truth of the matter is, we just hired a lot of C++ developers, but even with those new hires, I really want to prioritize the work that they need to do for platform.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly because I want this out as quick as possible. After that work for platform, I think that trustless masternode shares, is something great. Is something that I really want to have done. I mean, I wrote it even in dip 3. There's actually a section for the mode of the masternode. This was done on purpose because there's a mode for trustless masternode share mode. It's actually not called like that in my dip, but whatever. It sounds better.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's that. What was the second part of the question again? Multi-party payouts.
Yeah, the specifics in there: multi-collateral, multi-address collateral, multi-party payouts, and then over-collateralized addresses or whatever.
Yeah. So we are putting in BLS signatures inside of our payment chain in V18.
Mm-hmm.
And this allows threshold cryptography on any output. And if your output is 1,000 dash, it's good.
Mm-hmm.
So you could have a threshold if you want. You can also you could also do a pay to script hash. Right now, it currently works that multiple people could do a multi-sig address. Yes, I am the new CTO, James Doe. In interim, if the community likes me. And the last part was, I think, having potential value over 1,000 dash, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is a no. And the reason that is a no, and that will never be the case, is because the fact that we are at 1,000 dash helps us very, very much in terms of threshold cryptography.
Okay.
Every masternode is equal. And because every masternode is equal, you can do specific functions inside the system that become insanely more complicated when masternodes are not equal in value. And this actually is what's allowing us to do the threshold cryptography that is done in Tenderdash, whereas other systems like Tendermint for Cosmos actually have different validators, which are their equivalent to masternodes, at various amounts. But they can't do threshold cryptography because of that, and they can't. Well, that's actually not true. You can do threshold cryptography around that, but the math is so hard that it's never been done before, and I don't want to do it in the next 5 years.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so that answers that bit, but then the other ones will be possibly ready. And so basically a lot of it also boils down to C++ developers, and those that you do have, you want focusing on platform. Now let's just say the community is super adamant about this anyway and finds ways of acquiring C++ dev talent, either paid or otherwise. would you be able to put them to work working on this thing if they're there just for that purpose?
I mean, yes, sure. If the community can give us C++ devs that can actually do the work, I'm very happy to put them on that work. That's like a no-brainer for me. The problem is that it requires very, very advanced levels to be able to do that work, and a good knowledge of our code base. So,
So basically, they're already on platform, is what you're saying.
Well, when I say they're on platform, there aren't that many stories in core for platform. What they really are on is improving our quorum system to the levels that are required by platform, because there are specific levels of security that are more important for platform, basically. That currently, like, for example, I can touch on that a little bit. Currently, Instant Send has a level of security that is very strong, but it is not infallible.
Yeah.
It is not infallible in the sense that given enough resources, there are specific attacks on it. We want to completely eliminate those attacks. And when I say there are attacks where people would not actually even make any monetary benefit in the current system for payments. So they can't actually make any monetary benefit. However, on platform, they can. And so basically, we have to change the quorum system a little bit to improve platform, but we're all benefiting. Both the payment chain and the platform chain are benefiting from those improvements. I'm sorry if I'm a little bit just spewing out information, but it is 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. I just had one last question, and then you can move on. I mean, you can do whatever you want. I don't own you.
No. I want to continue. I just apologize.
Yes. So I mean, we basically covered everything. The only last one is, how can the rest of the Dash community help you to make sure your job goes both as smoothly, like going well, and at the same time as effectively as possible?
Yeah, sure. So I think the development community already understands my situation, because I mentioned it before, and people who know me in the community also know this. Like, I'm the main dev on the platform engine right now. I'm the main dev on the iOS library. I'm also critical in design discussions, and I have responsibilities as CTO. I'm honestly working. I wake up, I start working, I go to sleep. That's been my life for the last 2 months, and it probably will continue being my life until we get some extra hires. What I just hope from the community is that they understand that I have a lot on my plate for the next month. I'm also trying to make a lot of changes as well in terms of communication. I'm not 100% sure how well I will do because, there's a lot on my plate. And what's the most important right now is the development. It's, in my opinion, it's communication plus development. And actually, it's everything I said.
Yeah. Well, cool. That basically answers, everything. I mean, we got through a big ton of things, and especially every time we're doing a technical podcast, as it were, there's just a ton of stuff to go through. I mean, obviously everything else is important, but yeah, thanks a ton for being on. We're going to just wrap this up and before we wrap that thing up, of course, it's my own shilling time. Pretty soon, I'm going to launch my own proposal called the Dash Marketing Hub that's officially approved as an official fork of the Dash Incubator. And yeah, it's basically going to be what the incubator did for development, but to marketing and promo. And so look forward to that. If you are of the voting persuasion, please vote for it. If you don't want to, well, I don't like you, but whatever. And yeah, that's going to be it. So look forward to that in the coming days. And now it is a time for the fantastic time of the after party, which is nice chat like this, except not recorded, not publicized. And up to, I think we had our peak 2 weeks ago was like 17 people on, but there might be more, whatever. And yeah, you're just free to come in and hang out and drink and swear and whatever else you want. So the way you do that, you got to go to the Dash Talk or the Dash Discord. I'm so used to saying the old name. The Dash Discord, which is you go into stay-eat.com. Let me just type that out real quick. And that's the easy link to get there. And then you just start asking around, where's the after party? How to get in the after party? Where's the after party at? All that kind of stuff. And then someone, probably me, will let you in. And you can always ping me at the desert links in there or on Twitter. And of course, yeah. So thanks a ton for being on, Sam. 2 weeks from now, we should have the illustrious Dr. Darren Tapp on. So look forward to that. And of course, next week, we were just going to have the rundown as usual, the boring podcast, as it were. But yeah, anyway, thanks everyone for coming on, and I'll see you either next week or in a couple weeks. Bye-bye.